Welcome to this author interaction of the 2023 NLF Reading Challenge. My name is Sneha, and I hope you're as excited to be here as I am. Before we begin the interaction, let me give you a brief introduction about the NLF Reading Challenge, followed by a few housekeeping rules for today's session. The NLF Reading Challenge is a 3-month-long reading event from July to October 2023 for students between grades 4 and 6. It runs on the competitive as well as the non-competitive tracks. For the challenge, students read their way through a curated set of 30 books. They discuss their reading with their friends and their guide, log their thoughts, and get to interact with the authors of some of these books. The challenge will conclude with a quiz competition that will see the 3 best teams win 1. Gold, silver, and bronze engraved trophies, 2. Certificates of achievement, and 3. A wonderful set of books. For today's event, please use the Q&A box to type out your questions or your responses to what's being discussed during the session. If you're a student, a teacher, or a school librarian, please mention the name of your school along with your question as well. And today, we are privileged to have with us a master storyteller and an incredibly talented and prolific author, Sara Pennypacker. Sara has written more than 17 books. She writes mainly for children because she feels that they are the best readers, and writing for people who care so much makes her want to do her best. Sara's books have won numerous awards and are highly acclaimed. She won the Christopher Award for Clementine's Letter, Golden Kite Award for Pierre in Love, Boston Globe and Hornbook Award for Clementine. Her book, Pax, prequel to Pax's Journey Home, was #1 on the New York Times bestseller list for an incredible 54 weeks. Sara also loves words. Her favorite words are chandelier, jubilee, and zeekle. She also made up a word for the last book in the Clementine series, glossiled. Glossiled, which is for how you feel when you see someone you're in love with. Today, Sara is here to speak with us about her superbly crafted, intensely moving, and stunningly illustrated book that's on our reading list, Pax's Journey Home. Pax's Journey Home is a story of healing and love that transcends species. It's a sequel to Pax, and it is in this book that Peter and Pax, now leading different lives, find themselves on journeys towards healing, home, and each other. Welcome, Sara. We're very happy to have you with us today. And
hi.
Let me tell you, Sara, all of us are feeling a bit glossal at the moment.
Well, so am I. Thank you so much for all the work that I know you do in this reading challenge. I know what I know about half of how hard it is, what it is. And thank you so much for all of you who are the readers. It's right that you are my favorites. I love writing for you because you guys are better readers. You read more books than adults do. You read them more deeply. You are able to read the images, the pictures too, and you care so much. It's a real honor to write for you and to be able once in a while to say hello to you. So hello and thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Sara. Amazing words for our audience. I'm sure they're all very thrilled. So would you want to begin today's session by reading from the book before we move into the Q&A?
I wondered if maybe we should, I really want to get to these questions. So I wondered if we could do it if there's time at the end. Would you like that?
We could do that, no problem. So let's get started with the questions. We have quite a few for you.
Yes, okay.
I'm going to with the dedication pages to Pax and Pax's Journey Home itself. They were very, very interesting. And it sounded like there was a story there. Because in Pax, it read to my agent, Stephen Malk, who said Pax. And in Pax's Journey Home, it read to Donna Bray for taking such fine care of the foxes. And so am I right in guessing that there's a story here for our audience?
Yes, and I think at least one piece of it is a lovely story for everyone. And I'll tell you, so I was very, very excited when I was about to write Pax. I was so excited about the possibilities. And I made a trip to see my agent, Stephen Malk, who lives a long way away from me. He lives across the country, but I really wanted to talk to him about it. So I did. I told him all about the book. And then I told him the title, and I'm very bad at titling. And the title, I can't even remember, but it had like 5 or 6 words in it, like Pax lives here, does this, Pax from the forest, that kind of stuff. And he just said, no, he said, it's called Pax. So he was right. He just cut it down, and absolutely he was right. But a better story is this. He loved the word because when he was a little boy, he had a brother, and he used to fight with his brother. They, as brothers do, he would fight. And his grandmother always, when they fought, would make them stop and hold each other's hand and say the word Pax to each other. And Pax, of course, means peace. Many, many languages have a word about peace that is derived from the word Pax. And so to him, Pax had a very personal meaning. It meant we love each other, we are healed, we are in peace. So that was great. And then the second book, yes, I did it for my editor, because all the way through writing Pax, it was a difficult kind of sell. I kept saying, I know that there aren't serious books out there with a wild animal as the main character, but trust me, I really want us to respect that animal. And as an editor, she had a lot of control over that too. So I wanted to thank her for trusting me and trusting that, yes, children are going to be engaged with a story that is not about a human. It's not all about a human. So that was great.
Yes, and such a lovely title. It hits you and grips you right from the beginning. Thank you for sharing that. So I also wanted to say that, or rather ask, you mentioned that Pax was the book of your life, that one that challenged you the most, and right from the germination and working out the characters and writing the story itself. And this process took you nearly 10 years. And so when you wrote Pax, did you have Pax Journey Home waiting in the wings? How was the writing journey like with Pax Journey Home? Was it just as long?
No, I was, in fact, the opposite. I was positive that I would not write another Pax. I was positive. And the reason was I knew how hard writing Pax was. In terms of my heart and my shoulders, do I have the strength to carry a book about what war does to animals and children? It was hard. And I knew that it would be hard for the kind of reader who takes this to heart. It's not an easy read. You will be crying on page 7 of Pax. It's hard. So I thought very carefully about the ending of Pax. I ended it where I did, so that no matter which way you wanted it to end, you could imagine. In other words, I ended it before the actual end of each journey. I let the reader decide what's going to happen. So I felt, okay, that means no more Pax. They can decide on their own. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking about Peter and the fox that he had to let go. And I got a lot of letters from you readers, a lot of letters saying, no, we really want to know not just what happened in the next few minutes, what happened in their lives. So that was it for me. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I did realize, there's a little more to the story in what would happen like a year or 2 later. So that's what it was. Now, once I had decided to do that, I had all the research in me. I know about foxes. I am a fox expert. So what I had to learn about is what are some of the good things that humans do after war to correct things, to heal your heart. What do veterans do after war? So I did have to do that, but it was not the same research. I researched for a couple of years before I wrote the first PAX, but for this one, I was kind of ready to go. So this book took 2.5 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
It's still a lot. It's still a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, indeed. And we see that in the book. The progression is amazing. And so now it would be remiss if I don't ask the question that's on everyone's minds. Is there another book coming in the PAX series?
No. No. Most of you have read and finished the book. I think I don't want to go anymore. I know, there could be other generations, but I don't want to. I kind of feel these characters are real when I write them. And I feel very grateful that they have allowed me to show them to the world in such an honest way, open way. Like we've all seen my characters cry and be broken and make mistakes. So I think we should leave them alone. I think we know now that they are going to make it. They are going to be all right in the path that they've chosen. So no, I promise you no more. But I am working on other books. Here's the one that just came out, Leva at Last.
Yes.
And I'm working on a book right now. So I'm so excited about all the things, the new things.
We are very excited too. Hooray, new books.
New books.
Yes. And I have a question from the Reading Challenge team, as well as a student who wrote into us earlier this week. So it said that you have for many years wanted to write something addressing the terrible things that happen to children in the name of war. And when we study the characters of Peter and Pax across both the books, we see that Peter in the first book has bottled up his feelings of grief, sorrow, abandonment. And in the second book, this internalization or bottling up is harming him and making him more withdrawn, plagued by self-doubts, unaccepting of help, and is consciously avoiding relationships. But Pax, in contrast, starts off in the first book by trying to find his place and himself in the wild, and he's flourishing in the second book. He's become more confident, he's bold, he's attached to his family, he's also ever forgiving. And so war has affected both the characters very differently. And it's an amazing study in contrast. So was
Yes.
the study in contrast deliberate so that you could explain the effects of war better? And also, as an add-on to this question, Nila Ratan from One World International School, Bangalore, wrote in she wanted to know why you chose to write about Peter and Pax's life in alternating chapters. Was this again taking the study in contrast further?
Yes, my answer is yes to both of those. And also, I just want you to know your questions were very thoughtful and insightful. And it showed me you really read my book very carefully and you thought about things, because not everybody sees both of those things as being deliberate and what do they mean. So the first question, absolutely. I wanted to show, okay, a damaging thing has happened. And it doesn't have to be war. It can be a loss in your family. It can be an embarrassment, or you didn't get to be in this school thing. It can be any loss. You always have a couple of choices. The big choices are to say, oh, that thing that happens in life that hurts, I will never get near it again. Never. I'm not going to set myself up. Peter loved his mother. He loved his fox. He lost those two. And by the next book, he loved his dad, even though he had a harder relationship with his father, but he lost again. So that boy has nobody but his grandfather, who's very close. And he is saying, I will never, never love again. I will never care about anything again. I'm on my own. I've lost everything. That's one way to do it. And I respect him for trying to protect himself. I feel that that's a mistake because you close yourself to all of life then, to the good parts of life. But it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job as a writer is to ask questions. So the question in Pax is it a good idea after you've been harmed to close yourself off? Or is it like Pax? And I did Pax. Exactly the opposite. Peter's closing his world down. He doesn't trust it. Pax is opening it up, and he's welcoming new children in his life. He has made a life with Bristle. He has friends in other communities, even outside his species, and he knows to take joy in life, and he tells his children how to take joy in life. So yes, I absolutely was showing you, oh, here's one way a family can close you down, and here's one way it can open you up. So as I said before, it is not the author's job to tell anyone what to think or believe. It is not. But I want all of you out there who are thinking about a career in the art, movie, music, video game, anything. All art has the power to move human beings because it touches the heart. Art is not just about facts. Art is about feelings. So we have a very big responsibility, right? I still think we should never tell anyone what to believe, ever. That's not my job. That's not your job as an artist. Your job is to ask questions and to show possibilities. So I ask questions. In Pax, I asked the question, and I had several characters ask this question. Who pays the costs of war? What does war really cost? Well, it costs foxes their homes. It costs kids. They have to leave their homes and lose their school, lose contact with their adults and with their friends. They have to leave their toys at home. These are all questions that I want the readers to ask. I don't give them the answer. I just ask the questions. And in Pax's Journey Home, the question is, how best do we heal from a tragic event? And I show many different ways. I don't tell you the best. But I'm going to also answer another question. Well, I'm not quite at the other chapter question. I'm going to answer a question maybe nobody has asked me, which is, what is my favorite thing about writing is that so I get to go on and ask big questions and know that children readers are asking them themselves. And the best thing about that is that I have books out in, I think, 27, maybe 28 countries. And some of those countries are at war with each other. And I get to know that those children, for instance, in Ukraine, are reading Pax and Pax's Journey Home. Children in Russia are reading Pax and Pax's Journey Home. So while the adults are busy doing things that the kids would never choose, and the animals there would never choose, at least I know the kids are saying, what are the real costs of this war? And what can we do to heal? So it's an amazing honor. And for those of you, I hope there are a lot of you who would like a career in one of the arts. It's a very powerful thing, very powerful. You get to have children and other people, if you don't have to write for children, ask the same questions around the world. That's pretty great, don't you think?
Indeed, absolutely. Like you say, perspectives from different angles really matters. And the child's perspective of all these shameless things is amazing. It's worth looking at, and we should be looking at it. And you have given children that opportunity. And thank you for that. So there's a hard question. This is.
Wait, I'm not done. I forgot. Okay, so alternating chapters. I went through a lot of iterations. At first, the whole story was going to be told from the fox's point of view. And then I realized there's a whole lot that the fox will see and talk about and, experience that I still wouldn't get to say. So now I knew that it was both books, well, one at a time, were going to be 2 points of view. And you are absolutely right that it is about contrast, and it is also about similarity. So I wanted you to have a little bit of experience here, and then the same time, this is what happened on this day for this character. On the very same day, here's how it felt to Pax. Here's how it felt for Peter to leave his fox. Here's how it felt for the fox to be left. Because I guess that's the definition of empathy, which books are very good at making you feel, is how did that thing that happened, how did it feel to my friend? How does it feel for my mother to have to go through this thing that I felt as her child. It's really important to do that. It was also fun for me as an author. I have to just say, that's fun. And
Yes.
once in a while, like probably you've gotten the scene where they're remembering Pax burned his nose on a marshmallow.
Yes.
Peter remembers it. And in the next chapter, Pax remembers it. And it's very different for them.
Definitely.
Right?
Yes.
So
And it's that
fun,
chapter also when Peter's talking to his father and says that, maybe I'm not a good person to take care of a pet. And his father has a different insight. And Peter finds it magical that a single act can be viewed in different ways. And that was amazing. That line stayed with me. And I see what you mean. But thank you. That was an amazing chapter.
That's a very important one for me. Yes.
Yes, I could see it. It was the best chapter. It was really nice. And now I have a tough question, which many of our audience members are asking. And in fact, Anusha Raizada of One World International School, Bangalore, had written to us early this week. And she wanted to know if you used your personal experiences in developing the characters in the Pax series. And she asked if you have ever been in an incident that made you become as isolated as Peter. And just to add on, Nikki, a parent from our school, she also says loss and finding yourself anew through that loss are recurrent themes in your Pax books. And since you write about loss with such poignancy and insight, did you experience a deep loss as a child? And was it a cathartic experience writing these books?
Thank you for those questions. No, I didn't. I would say I think I had a very lucky childhood, but I have always been very connected to kids and sensitive to them. And as I travel around with my books, and I listen to a lot of stories, I always say, when I talk to kids, I always say this. I always say, I know that bad things happen in your life. I know there are problems, little ones, right, in your community or big ones in the world that upset you. And I know that as kids, you think there's nothing you can do about them. You think, what am I supposed to do? I can't vote. I don't have money. I can't even leave my town. I don't have a car. How can I help? How can I make a difference? And I always say to these kids, you have one strong weapon against this, and that is writing. All of you, when something bad is bothering you, can write it down. That is very powerful. You can write it down the way it happened, or you could write it down like I do, the way it should happen. I fix the ending. You can keep it to yourself, or you can show it to someone you really love and care about and trust. Either way, it is powerful to write it down. So when I say that, a lot of kids come up to me and they tell me the bad thing that they're upset about. And they can be very bad things. They can be things that leave me weeping and trying really to help them. So those things stay with me. No, I had normal losses. I still remember my first dog dying. I still remember how I couldn't even understand it. It was such a grief. I couldn't understand it. But that's a very normal thing, and I can't count that as a big loss. But I know that my job is to remember how things felt. And then I get to take all the things, the hard things that other children tell me, and I'm going to go there. This did not happen to me. I did not have this kind of loss. But you know what? A lot of kids did. And I'm the one who's supposed to stand up and say, I'm going to tell this story for you because you can't do it yet. You don't know how to write a book yet. And I'm good at it. So no, I am very lucky. However, through my life, smaller griefs have happened, grief. I've lost things, of course. And I know that it's all the same. And your answer is the same. You either say, I'll never get in that situation again, or you say, life is worth it. Because the more you love something, the more it hurts when you lose it, but the more you need to have it again and find it again, I think.
Thank you. So, in fact, you have answered a question which Anaga from APL Global School, Chennai had written in, and she wanted to know how can kids like her, how should they face or address the injustices of the world? And in fact, she took inspiration. She wanted to know whether they should escape from the real world like Peter, or should they be like Jolene from here in the real world, who she thinks showed immense courage and resolve. So children are already connecting, with
I'm going to answer that more though, because
Yes.
this is what happened. Here's why in the real world. This is why. So I went out after PAX and I did many, many school visits all across my country. And I looked at a lot of mail. I don't answer mail. I can't do that. Other people do that. But all the time, every time I would bring up PAX, I'd say, this is what happens to kids and animals in war. Every single time I went and talked to kids, they said to me, what can we do? We have to do something. What can we do? Whereas adults say, what can we do? Right? Kids say, really, what can we do? So wherever I went, when I talked about PAX, I had to be ready to say, in your town or your state, here's how you can help refugees. And I had to say, here's a program over Syria, for instance, had a big, big problem with pets who had been abandoned. And I said, here is a way you can raise money, send money, and these people go feed the cats and dogs who have been abandoned because of war, because kids always want to solve it in some way. So the story here in the real world is about 3 children who meet in one abandoned lot. So they're alone. They don't have guidance from adults when they're there. There are 3 children and they are facing 3 different problems. Each one has a problem. And I make them solve those problems according to what resources they do have. Because that's what they say is, here's a problem, I'm going to solve it like kids do. So yes, Jolene, she's tough. She's tough, isn't she?
Yes,
she has no resources, none at all. So she says, all right, my foster mom or my aunt she's not able to take care of me. So I'll do it. I'll make the money to pay the rent and buy the groceries, right? And the other characters have other resources, so they solve problems. This is the thing. Look around. If there's an issue, you are not going to have the big power to solve a big issue. You're not. But look around the edges, and there'll be something you can do, and you will feel a lot better. Just doing something, even if you just painted a picture about it and showed it to people and said, this is what I'm worried about, or this is what I care about, you're doing something about that problem.
True.
And thank you for feeling that way, kids. Thank you for feeling like you want to solve things.
Yes, indeed. And unfortunately, that was our last question. Sara, I don't know how time flew by.
Oh, it did. You sure? Oh, okay.
And thank you very much for speaking with us today. It has been.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. We wish you all the very best with Levi at Last. And all of us are eagerly looking forward to reading it. And of course, the new book, which is in the works.
Thank you so much. I will. I wish I could talk to you again. This was way too short. Thank you so much for being readers. Thank you so much for the work that you do to put together a reading challenge like this.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate your kind words and look forward to having you again.
Bye-bye.